I should have known something was wrong when Dad asked me to wear a dress to Colin's wedding. My name is Vivian, and I've been sleeping in my Honda Civic for 3 days now. But let me back up to the moment everything fell apart. The moment I realized my own father had been planning to destroy me all along. The wedding reception was in full swing when Dad tapped his champagne flute with that stupid butter knife. Everyone quieted down, all smiles and tipsy laughter, while I stood there in borrowed heels that were cutting into my ankles. I'd gotten the dress from Goodwill that morning, navy blue, slightly too big, but it would have to do. "Ladies and gentlemen," Dad's voice boomed across the backyard, "I want to thank you all for celebrating Colin and Alexandra today." Colin beamed, his arm wrapped around his new wife. She was practically glowing in her Instagram-worthy reception dress, the kind that probably cost more than I made in 3 months at the diner. "But I have one more surprise for the happy couple," Dad continued, reaching into his jacket pocket. That's when I saw it, the manila envelope, the same one that had been sitting on his desk for weeks, the one he'd quickly shuffled papers over whenever I walked into his office. "Colin, Alexandra, as a wedding gift, your mother and I—" He glanced at Grace, who was dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. "We want to give you the family estate, the house, the land, all of it. It's yours now." The crowd erupted in cheers. Alexandra actually squealed, jumping up and down like she'd won the lottery. Colin looked stunned, then broke into that golden boy grin that had gotten him everything his entire life. I felt the blood drain from my face. "Dad," I called out, my voice barely audible over the applause. "Dad, what about—" He looked right at me, right through me, really. His eyes were cold, calculated. "You'll leave anyway," he said, loud enough for the people nearby to hear. "You're a daughter." The words hit me like a physical blow. A few people shifted uncomfortably, but most were too drunk or too focused on Colin and Alexandra's celebration to really process what had just happened. I stood there, frozen, while my brother hugged Dad and Alexandra started crying happy tears. Grace was already on her phone, probably posting about their generous gift to social media. "Vivian." Colin finally noticed me standing there. "You okay?" I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask him if he knew, if he'd been part of this plan, or if he was just Dad's willing accomplice in my erasure. Instead, I forced a smile. "Congratulations! I'm just surprised." "I know, right?" "We had no idea!" Alexandra gushed, already taking selfies with the deed. "We're going to renovate everything. Maybe start a lifestyle blog about it." The rest of the reception passed in a blur. I made small talk, smiled when people looked my way, and pretended my world hadn't just collapsed. When the last guest finally left around midnight, I helped clean up like nothing had changed. It wasn't until I got to my car that I realized something else was wrong. My overnight bag was sitting on the passenger seat, the one I'd left in my childhood bedroom that morning. I ran back to the house, my borrowed heels clicking against the driveway. The front door was locked. I used my key, but it wouldn't turn. They'd changed the locks. "Dad!" I pounded on the door. "Dad, what the hell?" Grace opened it, still in her reception outfit but with her makeup smudged. "Vivian, please don't make a scene. Your things are in the car." "My things?" "Grace, I live here." "Not anymore." She handed me a piece of paper. "Your father thought it would be easier this way, less dramatic." It was an eviction notice, dated 3 weeks ago. "You can't be serious. Colin and Alexandra need space to start their new life. And honestly, dear, you're 25. It's time. She closed the door. I heard the deadbolt slide into place. I sat in my car for hours, staring at the house where I'd grown up, where Mom had tucked me in every night until cancer took her when I was 12, where I'd spent my teenage years bouncing between foster homes before finally aging out and coming back to the only family I had left. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd survived the foster system, worked my arse off to stay connected to Dad and Colin, only to be discarded the moment it became convenient. Around 3 a.m, I opened the glove compartment to look for tissues. That's when I found it. A sealed envelope with my name written in Mom's handwriting. One I'd never seen before. My hands shook as I held it up to the dome light. How long had it been sitting there? I was about to tear it open when a police cruiser pulled into the driveway behind me. The officer tapped on my window with his flashlight. "Ma'am, I need you to move along. We got a call about someone loitering." I rolled down the window, still clutching Mom's letter. "This is my family's house. I'm not loitering. Do you live here?" The question hung in the air. Technically, as of 3 hours ago, the answer was no. "It's complicated. I'm going to need you to find somewhere else to park for the night." I drove to a 24-hour Walmart parking lot and finally opened the envelope. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost tore the letter. "My dearest Vivian, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. I pray you never have to open this, but I need you to know the truth about our house, about what I'm leaving you. Your father doesn't know I'm writing this. He thinks the cancer will pass, that we'll grow old together in the house we built, but I can feel it spreading, and I need to protect what's yours. Under the floorboards in your bedroom, beneath the loose board by the window where we used to watch for fireflies, there's a tin box. Everything you need is in there. The house was mine before I married your father. My grandmother left it to me. I never changed the deed after we married because I wanted to make sure you and Colin would inherit equally. I'm sorry I won't be there to fight for you, but promise me you'll fight for yourself. All my love, Mom." I read it 3 times before it sank in. The house was Mom's, not Dad's, not some family property he could just give away. I waited until Tuesday when I knew Colin and Alexandra would be on their honeymoon in Cabo. Grace had posted their flight details on Facebook like she always did. No sense of privacy, that woman. I parked 2 blocks away and walked to the house. The spare key was still hidden under the fake rock by the garden shed. Some things never change. The house felt different. Colder. Grace had already started redecorating, replacing Mom's family photos with generic art from Home Goods. It made my stomach turn. I crept upstairs to my old room. They'd turned it into a guest room, complete with beige everything, and a sign that said, "Blessed," in cursive font. I wanted to throw up. The floorboard by the window was still loose. I pried it up with my car key and felt around until my fingers hit metal. The tin box was exactly where Mom said it would be. Inside, old photos of Mom as a young woman, standing in front of the house with a "sold" sign. A deed dated 1987 with only her name on it, and a locket I'd never seen before with a photo of me as a baby. But there was something else. A folder labeled "Important Papers" in Mom's neat handwriting. Inside were copies of property tax records, all in her name, insurance documents, and a will dated just 2 months before she died. The will left everything to me and Colin equally, 50-50 split of the house and all assets. I photographed everything with my phone, then grabbed a few more documents from Dad's office while I was there. Recent property transfers, tax records, anything that might be useful. That's when I found the smoking gun. A deed transfer dated 18 months after Mom died, transferring the property from estate of Margaret Martin to Raymond Martin, sole owner. The signature looked like Mom's, but she'd been dead for over a year when it was supposedly signed. Even more interesting, the notary stamp was from someone whose license had expired 6 months before the document was dated. I took photos of everything and got out of there fast. Back in my car, I spread the documents across my dashboard like a detective in some crime show. The timeline was clear. Mom died. Dad waited long enough for people to forget the details, then forged a transfer to put everything in his name. Then he could gift it to Colin without anyone questioning his right to do so. My phone buzzed. A text from Colin. "Hey, sis. Hope you're settling in okay wherever you landed. Alex wants to know if you want any of your old furniture before we donate it." I stared at the message for a long time before typing back. "Keep it all. I won't be needing it." "You sure? The desk has some sentimental value, right?" The desk where I'd done homework every night, where Mom used to sit with me and help with math problems. "I'm sure." I drove to the library and used their computers to research property fraud, statute of limitations, how to prove forgery, what constitutes elder abuse if someone forges a dead person's signature. The more I read, the angrier I got, and the more hopeful. 3 hours later, I had a plan. It wasn't going to be quick, and it wasn't going to be easy, but Dad had made one crucial mistake. He'd underestimated the daughter he threw away. 2 weeks of sleeping in my car taught me things I never wanted to know, like which Walmart parking lots have security that actually patrol at night, which gas stations let you use their bathrooms without buying anything, how to make a sleeve of crackers and a can of tuna last 2 days. I was brushing my teeth in a McDonald's bathroom when the manager knocked on the door. "Ma'am, you can't camp out in here." "I'm not camping. I'm just—" "Look, I don't want to call the cops, but you've been in there 20 minutes. I gathered my toiletries and left. The morning rush was in full swing, families grabbing breakfast before school and work. Normal people living normal lives. My phone was down to 15% battery. I'd been rationing it, only using it for job applications and researching lawyers. The documents from Mom's tin box were in a manila folder on my passenger seat, growing more wrinkled each day from me pulling them out to study. I drove to the women's shelter on 5th Street. Not to stay, they had a waiting list longer than my arm, but because they had a public bathroom and sometimes let people charge their phones. A woman with kind eyes and greying hair was unlocking the front door when I pulled up. "We don't open for services until 10, she said, but not unkindly. "I just need to use the restroom. Please, I'll be quick." She studied my face, taking in the dark circles under my eyes, my unwashed hair pulled back in a messy bun. "When's the last time you had a real meal?" "I'm fine. Just need the bathroom." "I'm Penny. I run this place." She held the door open. "Come on in. Coffee's already brewing." The shelter was cleaner than I expected. Bright yellow walls covered with inspirational quotes and children's artwork. It smelled like disinfectant and fresh coffee. "Bathroom's down the hall. Take your time." When I came out, she had a cup of coffee waiting for me, along with a plate of scrambled eggs and toast. I can't pay you for this. Did I ask you to? I ate like I hadn't seen food in days, which wasn't far from the truth. Penny sat across from me, sipping her coffee and not asking questions I wasn't ready to answer. You're not using, she said finally. What? Drugs, alcohol. I can usually tell within 5 minutes. You're running from something else. Family stuff. The worst kind. She refilled my coffee cup. I used to be a lawyer, before I started this place. That got my attention. What kind of lawyer? Family law, mostly. Divorce, custody, estate disputes. Saw a lot of women get screwed over by men who thought they were smarter than the system. I pulled the manila folder from my purse and slid it across the table. Hypothetically, if someone forged a dead person's signature to steal their property, what would that be called? Penny opened the folder and started reading. Her expression changed as she went through each document. This isn't hypothetical, is it? No. Jesus! She held up the forged deed transfer. This is felony fraud. Multiple felonies, actually. Who did this to you? My father. She was quiet for a long time, studying the documents. You have copies of everything? Photos on my phone. Good. Don't let these originals out of your sight. She pulled out her phone. I'm going to make a call. There's someone you need to meet. I can't afford a lawyer. Let me worry about that. She stepped outside to make her call. I finished my eggs and tried not to get my hopes up. I'd been disappointed too many times already. When she came back, she was smiling. Abigail Santiago. She runs a firm that specializes in cases like yours, pro bono work for women who've been financially abused by family members. She'll take my case. She wants to meet with you first. But Vivian? Penny sat back down. What you have here, this level of fraud, is not just about getting your house back. Your father could go to prison. The thought should have scared me. Instead, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. When can I meet her? This afternoon, if you're available. Which, I'm guessing you are. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Abigail Santiago. Penny gave me your number. Can you be at my office at 2 p.m. today? We need to talk. What you have is bigger than you realize. I showed Penny the message. She doesn't waste time, Penny said. That's good. Time isn't on your side with something like this. What do you mean? Statute of limitations. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to prosecute. But if what I'm seeing in these documents is accurate, your father didn't just steal from you. He committed identity theft, forgery, and fraud. Federal crimes. I stared at the documents spread across the table. 2 weeks ago, I thought I'd lost everything. Now it looked like I might be able to take everything from him. Penny, thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. Abigail's office was nothing like the stuffy law firms you see in movies. It was in a converted warehouse with exposed brick walls and plants everywhere. 3 women worked at standing desks, and I could hear someone on a conference call speaking rapid-fire Spanish in the next room. Vivian? A woman in her 30s approached me, wearing jeans and a blazer that probably cost more than my car. I'm Abigail. Thanks for coming. She led me to a conference room where a younger guy was already waiting, surrounded by stacks of papers and 2 laptops. This is Dan, my research specialist. He's been digging into your father's business record since Penny called. Dan looked up from his laptop. Your dad's been busy. Really busy. Abigail spread my documents across the table. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning. I walked them through Mom's death, the foster care years, moving back home, and the wedding night ambush. Dan took notes while Abigail studied the forged deed. This notary, she said, pointing to the stamp. Patricia Williams. Her license expired in March 2019. This document is dated September 2019. So it's definitely forged? Oh, it's forged, but that's just the beginning. Dan turned his laptop toward me. I ran your social security number through a property database search. Your father used your identity to co-sign loan documents when you were 17. That's impossible. I was in foster care. Exactly, which makes it identity theft. Abigail leaned back in her chair. How much do you know about your father's contracting business? Not much. He does home renovations, small commercial jobs. He's been using the house as collateral for business loans, multiple loans. And when I say multiple, I mean he's leveraged that property for about $2 million in debt. My stomach dropped. $2 million? Gets better, Dan said, pulling up another screen. He's been claiming you as a dependent on his taxes for the past 3 years. Getting earned income credit, child tax credits, the works. I'm 25. I haven't lived with him consistently since I was 18. Doesn't matter to the IRS if they don't know about it. Abigail stood up and started pacing. Vivian, what we're looking at here isn't just property fraud. It's a pattern of financial abuse that goes back years. Tax fraud, identity theft, forgery, possibly money laundering if he's been moving funds through shell companies. What does that mean for me? It means we're not just getting your house back. We're taking him down completely. Dan pulled up Facebook on his laptop. Your brother and his wife have been posting about their renovations. Look at this. The screen showed Alexandra's Instagram story from that morning. She was standing in what used to be Mom's kitchen, now gutted down to the studs. Demo day. Can't wait to see our vision come to life. Blessed life. Estate renovation. New beginnings. They're destroying everything, I whispered. Actually, they're creating evidence, Abigail said. Every social media post, every receipt, every contractor they hire, it all proves they knew the house wasn't legally theirs to renovate. My phone buzzed. A text from Grace. Vivian, we need to talk. Some lawyer called asking questions about property records. What have you done? I showed them the message. Don't respond yet, Abigail said. Let me guess. She's going to want to meet, try to work something out, maybe offer you some money to go away quietly. How did you know? Because I've seen this playbook 100 times. The family realizes they're in legal trouble, so they try to buy off the victim before it goes public. Dan's phone rang. He answered, listened for a moment, then covered the mouthpiece. It's the court clerk. They want to know if we're ready to file. Abigail looked at me. This is your last chance to walk away. Once we file these papers, there's no going back. Your father will know exactly what you're doing, and he'll fight dirty. What happens if we file? Emergency injunction to stop any further renovations, forensic accounting of all his business records, criminal referral to the DA's office, asset freeze on his bank accounts. She paused, and a very public court battle that will probably make the local news. Grace texted again. Please call me. We can work this out as a family. I thought about Mom's letter, about sleeping in my car, about Dad looking right through me at the wedding and saying I'd leave anyway. File it. Dan spoke into the phone. We're ready. Send the courier. Abigail sat back down. Vivian, I need you to understand something. This is going to get worse before it gets better. Your family is going to say terrible things about you. They'll try to paint you as unstable, vindictive, maybe even dangerous. Let them. They might file a restraining order, claim you're harassing them. Are they? Grace already did. This morning. She slid a paper across the table. Temporary restraining order. You can't go within 500 feet of the house or contact any of them directly. I stared at the legal document. They're scared. They should be. Dan closed his laptop. I just got confirmation. The FBI's white-collar crime unit wants to review the case file. The FBI? Your father used the Postal Service to mail fraudulent documents. That makes it federal mail fraud. Abigail smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. Vivian, meet me here tomorrow at 9 a.m. We have a lot of work to do. I walked out of that office feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Powerful. My phone buzzed with another text from Grace. This is going to destroy our family. Is that what you want? I typed back. You destroyed it first. Then I blocked her number. 3 months later, I was sitting in a sterile conference room at the county courthouse, wearing a suit Abigail had bought me for the mediation. Across the table sat my entire family with their lawyer, a nervous-looking man who kept shuffling papers and avoiding eye contact. Dad looked older, grayer. The confident man who'd handed over my inheritance like it was nothing had been replaced by someone who kept checking his phone and tapping his fingers on the table. Let's begin, said the mediator, a woman in her 50s with the patience of someone who'd seen every family drama imaginable. Ms. Martin, your legal team has presented some serious allegations. Abigail opened her briefcase. We have documented evidence of systematic fraud spanning 7 years. Forged signatures, identity theft, tax evasion, and illegal use of a minor's social security number. This is ridiculous, Colin said. Dad would never. Your father forged your mother's signature 18 months after her death. Dan interrupted, sliding a document across the table. The handwriting analysis came back yesterday. 0% match to your mother's actual signature. Grace leaned forward. Vivian, honey, we can work this out. Family doesn't sue family. Family doesn't steal from family either, I said. Dad finally spoke up. You always were ungrateful. Your mother spoiled you, made you think you deserved everything handed to you. Raymond. Their lawyer warned quietly. No, she needs to hear this. Dad's voice was getting louder. I raised you. I put a roof over your head when no one else would take you. And this is how you repay me? You put me in foster care when Mom died. Because you were out of control. Running away, getting in trouble at school. I was 12, and my mother had just died. The mediator held up her hand. Let's focus on the legal issues. Ms. Santiago, what are your client's demands? Abigail pulled out a thick folder. Full restitution of the property, including all improvements made with fraudulent funds, damages for emotional distress, and criminal prosecution for all federal crimes committed. Criminal prosecution? Alexandra spoke for the first time, her voice shaky. We didn't know anything about forged documents. We just accepted a wedding gift. A wedding gift of stolen property, Dan said, and according to your social media posts, you've spent over $200,000 on renovations, money that came from loans secured with fraudulent collateral. Colin grabbed Alexandra's hand. We'll pay it back, whatever it takes. With what money? Abigail asked. Your father's business accounts are frozen. The house is under court-ordered asset protection. And the IRS is conducting their own investigation into 7 years of fraudulent tax returns. Dad slammed his hand on the table. This is extortion. No, I said, my voice steady. This is consequences. Their lawyer whispered something to Dad, who shook his head violently. My client would like to propose a settlement, the lawyer said. Mr. Raymond is willing to transfer the property back to Ms. Vivian in exchange for dropping all criminal charges. Counteroffer, Abigail said. Full property transfer, plus $500,000 in damages, plus Mr. Raymond's public admission of fraud, plus cooperation with federal investigators, and we don't drop the criminal charges. That's insane, Grace said. Raymond doesn't have $500,000. Then he shouldn't have committed $500,000 worth of fraud. The mediator called for a recess. As everyone filed out, Colin caught my arm. Viv, please, this is destroying our family. I looked at him, really looked at him. The golden boy who'd gotten everything while I got nothing, who'd accepted a stolen house without asking a single question. You destroyed it the night you took that deed. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. There's a difference. When we reconvened, their lawyer looked defeated. My clients reject the settlement offer. Then we'll see you in court, Abigail said, standing up. Discovery starts Monday. We'll need all financial records, business documents, and personal communications from the past 7 years. As we packed up our papers, Dad stood up. You think you've won something here? You think destroying your family makes you strong? I met his eyes. I think taking back what was stolen from me makes me smart. Your mother would be ashamed of you. The words hit like a physical blow, but I didn't flinch. My mother would be proud that I fought for what she left me. Outside the courthouse, a local news crew was waiting. The reporter approached us with a microphone. Ms. Martin, can you comment on the federal fraud investigation involving your family's estate? Abigail stepped in front of me. My client has no comment at this time, but as we walked to the car, I heard the reporter's voice behind us. Sources close to the case say the fraud may total over $2 million, making this one of the largest family estate fraud cases in county history. My phone buzzed with a text from Penny. Saw the news. How are you holding up? I typed back. Better than they are. That night, I treated myself to a hotel room, a real bed, a hot shower, room service. As I was falling asleep, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Vivian? It's Colin. Please don't hang up. I almost did, but something in his voice stopped me. What do you want? Dad's having chest pains. He's in the hospital. I hung up on Colin and called Abigail. Don't go to the hospital, she said before I could even explain. It's either a manipulation tactic or it'll look like harassment given the restraining order. What if he's actually dying? Then he should have thought about that before committing federal crimes. The next morning, Dan called me at 6 a.m. Turn on Channel 7 News, now. I fumbled for the hotel remote. The morning anchor was standing outside the courthouse. Federal agents raided the offices of Raymond Martin Construction yesterday evening, seizing computers and financial records in connection with an ongoing fraud investigation. Sources tell us the case involves forged documents and identity theft spanning nearly a decade. The screen cut to footage of FBI agents carrying boxes out of Dad's office building. Then, a photo of our house appeared. The investigation centers around this property, allegedly stolen through forged estate documents after the owner's death in 2015. My phone started ringing. Unknown numbers, probably reporters. I let them all go to voicemail. At 9 a.m. I met Abigail and Dan at their office. The mood was different, electric, focused. The FBI found everything, Dan said, spreading printouts across the conference table. Shell companies, offshore accounts, falsified loan applications. Your father wasn't just stealing from you. He was running a sophisticated fraud operation. What does that mean? It means the federal prosecutor wants to offer you a deal, Abigail said. Full restitution, including the house and all assets. Your father pleads guilty to avoid a 20-year prison sentence. What's the catch? You have to testify at his sentencing hearing. Tell the judge how his crimes affected you. Before I could answer, Dan's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and frowned. It's Colin. He's asking to meet with you. Absolutely not, Abigail said. The restraining order? He says he wants to surrender the house, voluntarily. Today. We met at a neutral location, a coffee shop downtown. Colin looked terrible, unshaven, wearing the same clothes from the mediation. Alexandra wasn't with him. Where's your wife? I asked. Gone. Back to her parents in Phoenix. She filed for divorce yesterday. He slid a manila envelope across the table. Quit claim deed. I'm signing the house back to you. I opened it. Legal documents transferring all rights to the property back to me, signed and notarized. Why? Because Dad lied to me, too. Colin's voice was flat. I found out yesterday that he took out a second mortgage on the house last year, used my social security number to do it. I'm on the hook for $300,000 I never borrowed. Jesus. The FBI showed me the loan documents, my signature, but I never signed them. He forged my name just like he forged Mom's. Abigail studied the quitclaim deed. This doesn't stop the federal case. I know, but maybe it helps. Colin looked at me. Vivian, I'm sorry. I should have asked questions. I should have wondered why Dad was giving away Mom's house. You should have. I was greedy. We both were. We saw that big house, and all we could think about was how it would look on Instagram, how impressed our friends would be. He rubbed his face. Alexandra's been posting about our estate renovation for months. Now everyone knows it was built on fraud. Where are you staying? Dad's hospital room. He's not actually dying, by the way. Panic attack, but the stress is real enough. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Rebecca Chen from Channel 7 News. Would you be willing to do an on-camera interview about your family's fraud case? I showed it to Abigail, who shook her head. Not yet. Let the legal process play out first. Colin stood up. There's something else? Dad wants to see you. No. He says he has something that belongs to you, something of Mom's he never gave you. What? He won't tell me, just says you'll want it. That afternoon, against Abigail's advice, I went to the hospital. Dad was in a private room, looking smaller than I remembered. Grace was there, along with their lawyer. You came, Dad said. Colin said you have something of Mom's. He reached into the bedside table and pulled out a jewelry box I recognized from Mom's dresser. Her wedding ring, the real one, not the cheap replacement I bought after I pawned it. Inside was Mom's engagement ring, a simple solitaire I remembered her wearing every day until she got too sick to keep jewelry on. Why are you giving me this now? Because I'm going to prison, and because... He stopped, looking older than his 58 years. Because your mother made me promise to give it to you when you got married. I'm not getting married. Maybe someday you will, and when you do, you'll have something of hers with you. Grace was crying quietly in the corner. This doesn't change anything, I said, slipping the ring onto my right hand. You still stole from me. You still threw me away. I know. Then why? He was quiet for a long time. Because I was scared you'd leave, like she did. Mom didn't leave. She died. Same result. I walked out without saying goodbye. 2 weeks later, the judge accepted Dad's guilty plea. 24 months in federal prison, full restitution, and permanent forfeiture of his contractor's license. The house was officially mine. I stood in the driveway of my childhood home for the first time in 6 months, holding the keys the court had given me that morning. The house looked different. Bigger, somehow, but also emptier. Colin and Alexandra's renovation had been half finished when the asset freeze hit. Exposed drywall, missing cabinet doors, a kitchen island sitting in the middle of what used to be Mom's living room. Penny pulled up behind me in her beat-up Honda. You sure about this? She asked, getting out of her car. I'm sure. We walked through the front door together. The smell hit me first, sawdust and paint fumes mixed with something else. Abandonment, maybe. It's going to need a lot of work to make it livable again, Penny said, running her hand along the torn-up hardwood floors. That's not what I'm planning. I led her upstairs to my old bedroom. They'd started to convert it into a master suite, knocking out walls and installing a massive walk-in closet. But you could still see the window where Mom and I used to watch for fireflies. This is where she hid my inheritance, I said, pointing to the loose floorboard. Right here, she made sure I'd have something to fight for. And now? Now I'm giving it away. Penny raised an eyebrow. Come again. I pulled out the paperwork I'd had drawn up the week before. I'm donating the entire property to the Women's Crisis Center. They're going to turn it into a residential facility for women escaping domestic violence. Vivian, this house is worth over $1 million. I know. That's why it'll help so many people. We walked back downstairs. In the kitchen, someone had left a note taped to the refrigerator. Alexandra's handwriting. Thanks for ruining our lives. Hope you're happy now. I crumpled it up and threw it in the construction debris pile. Are you happy? Penny asked. I'm something better than happy. I'm free. My phone rang. Abigail. The paperwork went through. The donation is official. But Vivian, I have to ask one more time. Are you absolutely certain about this? You could sell this place, take the money, start over somewhere new. I am starting over. Just not the way anyone expected. What about the restitution money from your father's assets? Keeping that? I earned it. After Penny left, I walked through the house alone. In Mom's old bedroom, I found something Colin and Alexandra had missed. A photo album wedged behind the radiator. Pictures of Mom and me baking cookies, planting flowers, reading bedtime stories. The last photo was from my 12th birthday, 2 months before she died. We were sitting on the front porch, both of us laughing at something Dad had said while taking the picture. Mom looked so young, so alive. I took the album with me. That evening, I drove to the cemetery for the first time since the funeral. Mom's headstone was simple granite with her name and dates. Someone had left fresh flowers, probably Grace, trying to ease her guilt. "I got it back, Mom," I said, sitting cross-legged on the grass. "The house, the truth, everything you wanted me to have." A jogger passed by, giving me a curious look. I didn't care. "But I'm not keeping it. I hope that's okay." "I think you'd understand." The wind picked up, rustling the oak tree above her grave. "Dad's in prison. Colin lost everything. Grace is probably going to divorce him while he's locked up." I pulled out the photo album. "I should feel bad about that, right?" "But I don't. I just feel done." I left the birthday photo on her headstone, weighted down with a small stone. 3 months later, I was standing on the front porch of a brownstone in Brooklyn, signing the final papers with a real estate agent. My new home, bought with Dad's restitution money and a mortgage I could actually afford. "Congratulations," the agent said, handing me the keys. "It's a great neighborhood. Very up and coming." The house needed work. New floors, updated kitchen, fresh paint everywhere. But it was mine. Really mine. No forged documents, no family drama, no strings attached. Dan helped me move in my few belongings, mostly clothes and the legal documents that had changed my life. Abigail brought Chinese takeout and a bottle of champagne. "To new beginnings," she said, raising her glass. "To justice served cold," Dan added. "To moving forward," I said. We ate dinner sitting on the floor of my empty living room, talking about everything except the case that had brought us together. Later that night, after they'd gone home, I sat on my front steps and called Penny. "How's the new place?" "Perfect. Quiet. Mine." "Any regrets?" I looked up at the brownstone's windows, imagining how they'd look with curtains and plants and all the signs of a real life. "Just one." "What's that?" "I wish Mom could see this. Not the house, but who I became. The daughter who stayed and fought." "She can see it," Penny said. "Trust me on that." I pulled out my phone and took a selfie on the front steps, then opened a new email. 2. Email protected. Subject: From the daughter who stayed. "Dad, this is my new address, the home I bought with the money you stole from me. Thought you should know what a daughter who stays looks like." Don't write back. Vivian. I attached the photo and hit send. Then I blocked his email address and went inside to start my new life. The ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Margaret Martin Women's Crisis Center was on a Tuesday morning in October. I stood in the back of the crowd, wearing Mom's engagement ring and watching as the mayor gave a speech about community support and second chances. "This beautiful facility will provide safe housing for up to 12 women and their children," he said, gesturing to the house that used to be my prison. "Thanks to an anonymous donation, we can offer comprehensive services including legal aid, job training, and childcare." The crowd applauded. Local news cameras captured everything. I stayed hidden behind a group of volunteers, not ready for that kind of attention. Penny found me after the ceremony. "You should have been up there cutting that ribbon," she said. "This isn't about me anymore." "Like hell it isn't. You turned your trauma into something that'll help hundreds of women." A reporter approached us with a microphone. "Excuse me, are you familiar with the anonymous donor? We'd love to get their story." "Sorry," I said. No comment. As the crowd dispersed, I walked up to the front porch where I'd spent so many nights as a kid, waiting for Mom to get home from work. A brass plaque by the door read, "In memory of Margaret Martin, beloved mother and advocate." "Vivian?" I turned around. Colin was standing at the edge of the yard, looking uncertain. "What are you doing here?" "I saw the news coverage. I figured—" He gestured helplessly. "I wanted to see what you did with the place." He looked different. Thinner. Older. The golden boy shine was completely gone. "Where are you living now?" "Apartment across town. 1 bedroom. I'm working at a hardware store." He laughed bitterly. "Minimum wage. Turns out a business degree doesn't mean much when your last job reference is a federal fraud case." "And Dad?" "Still in prison. He writes me letters sometimes. I don't read them." We stood there awkwardly, two strangers who used to share a childhood. "I'm sorry," Colin said finally. "For all of it. For taking the house, for not asking questions, for letting him treat you like you didn't matter." "I know. Do you forgive me?" I looked at the house behind him, already bustling with activity as staff prepared for the first residents. "I don't forgive you, Colin, but I don't hate you either. I just don't think about you anymore." He nodded like he'd expected that answer. "For what it's worth, what you did here, turning it into something good. Mom would have loved it." "Yeah. She would have." He started to walk away, then turned back. "Are you happy, Viv?" "I'm free. That's better than happy." That evening, I was painting my kitchen when my phone rang. Unknown number, but I answered anyway. "Ms. Martin, this is Jessica Torres from Netflix Documentary Films. We're interested in optioning your story for a limited series about family fraud and financial abuse." "How did you get this number?" "Your attorney, Abigail Santiago, gave us your contact information. She said you might be interested in telling your story on a larger platform." I set down my paintbrush. "What kind of story?" "The kind that shows other women they don't have to accept being thrown away by their families. The kind that proves the legal system can work when you know how to use it." "I'll think about it." "There would be compensation, of course, potentially significant compensation." I said I'll think about it. I hung up and called Abigail. "Netflix, really?" "Your story is powerful, Vivian. It could help a lot of people. Or it could turn my trauma into entertainment." "That's your call. But think about it. How many women are out there right now, getting screwed over by family members who think they can get away with it because they're women? How many could use a roadmap for fighting back?" She had a point. The next morning, I drove to the cemetery. Mom's grave looked different in the fall light, surrounded by orange and red leaves. I'd brought the newspaper clipping about the crisis center opening. "Look what we built, Mom," I said, placing the article next to her headstone. "Your house is helping people now. Real people with real problems, just like we had." A groundskeeper was working nearby, raking leaves. He nodded politely and kept working. I got a call about telling our story. Making it into something bigger. I sat down on the grass. "I think you'd want me to do it. You always said I had a voice worth hearing." The wind picked up, scattering leaves across the cemetery. "I stayed, Mom. I stayed longer than they ever deserved me to. And it was enough. I stood up, brushing dirt off my jeans. As I walked back to my car, I pulled out my phone and called Jessica Torres. This is Vivian Martin. About that documentary. Let's talk. Because some stories are too important to keep to yourself. Some fights are worth sharing, and sometimes the daughter who was supposed to leave anyway becomes the one who changes everything. I drove home to my brownstone, to my life, to my future. Behind me the leaves kept falling, covering the past with something new,